Has life been getting you down? Has your happiness, your purpose, and your sense of fulfillment slowly been disappearing? Well, in today's video, we'll be going over how to structure our lives to be able to master our emotions and develop the right mindset, cultivate the right mindset to overcome the obstacles that life throws at us. We'll be going over the book Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins to help answer these questions. We'll be touching chapters 10, 11, and 12 in this video. I've covered the other chapters in previous videos, and we'll be covering more chapters in other videos. So if you haven't checked those out, definitely check those out after viewing this video here. First, let's get into the quote that stood out to me the most in chapter 10. A whole set of rules, ideas, and preconceived notions accompany any metaphor you adopt. And so what is a metaphor? A metaphor is a concept of likening something to something else. The two things may bear little resemblance to one another, but the purpose of it is to have one thing be something that we're familiar with, to connect it to the other thing that maybe we're not as familiar with, less familiar with, so we can start grasping and understanding like, oh, okay, that other thing I'm less familiar with is a lot like maybe similar to this thing that I currently comprehend. Metaphors can empower us by expanding and enriching our experience of life. And so it's critically important to use it as a tool to grasp and understand. If we're unable to understand something, then we fail to move forward and take action and implement that thing to impact your own life or impact other people's lives. Or when you're trying to communicate something to other people, it's important to be able to have the ability and the know-how and the awareness of likening something to another thing to be able to effectively create an image, a picture in the other person's mind to be able to then spark something to take action. Very oftentimes, students who are trying to learn and understand electricity, there is a common metaphor used to describe electricity in terms of the flowing of water through a pipe. And you might be wondering, why are we diving into metaphors? Why is this important? It's important because we need to start paying attention to the language, to the vocabulary that's coming out of our mouths, right? The words that are coming out of our mouths. How we're associating things in life. Are they empowering? Are they disempowering? For example, if it's a very high fear, which is a very common fear for most people, to get in front of a crowd and talk to people, right? They're thinking maybe in terms of, well, when I get on stage in front of people and I start talking, or even before I even start talking, once I get onto the stage and all those eyes are on me, I feel like I'm gonna die. So is that empowering you to move, to take action, to get on that stage, to get your message across to everyone who's out in the audience, in the crowd? No. It's encouraging you, that type of metaphor is encouraging you to stay away from a crowd, an audience, a stage. Because I believe that we all have stories and experiences that should be communicated to each other, because not only does that build a connection with one another, but then it creates, for example, new know-how and knowledge of okay, this person has experienced similar things that I've experienced, and so it creates new stories you can tell others, you can carry it on, and or it creates new awareness of, oh, that person was afraid of that too? Oh, that person has messed up on that multiple times as well? So then it's fine then. You make it out alive and you keep on going. But if instead you went on that stage with a new empowering metaphor that you interrupted and replaced with the disempowering metaphor of getting up a stage and public speaking is like riding a roller coaster. And that could mean different things to different people, but perhaps coming from you as somebody who loves riding roller coasters and loves that thrill seeking of getting on that coaster and and being like fully excited and energized and pumped up at the end of it, right? And so just associating that likeness to getting on stage, getting in front of a group of people, doing your public speaking, getting your message out to others, and connecting it to that same exhilaration that you feel when you're on a roller coaster, that same excitement, you're going to approach that differently, right? Suddenly you're going to start scripting out messages that you can say in front of others that will impact other people's lives, and you'll get on that stage and you'll go do it, and you'll look forward to those moments. You look forward to those moments that you get to go on stage and talk to people, entertain people, impact people, whatever it may be. So you see how that's radically different than going on stage and having that disempowering metaphor of, this is terrible. I feel like I'm going to die. It's very different. That type of negative metaphor is going to hold you back, constrain you from taking actions that you should be doing, or that you know you should be doing, for example, but you're not because the fear is holding you back. And what exactly is fear? Fear is just simply thinking and projecting out future stories that haven't come true yet, and most likely will not come true. There's a very, very high percentage of the false stories that we tell ourselves that actually do not manifest and come true. I think it's like 80% or higher. And so then why then tell yourself a story that is going to make you nervous, that's going to set you in fear mode, when you can intentionally choose to tell yourself a story that's going to enrich you, empower you, to encourage you to take action, right? Those stories typically come true. Why? Because now you're actually taking action. And if you fail and slip up and mess up, so what? You learned through that experience, and then now you can try it all over again, but 1% better, right? So you see how powerful metaphors can be. Start paying attention to your language. And how can we start paying attention to our language? Here's some things you can do. Grab a notebook and pen and write down the metaphors you've already chosen for what is life. For the question, what is life? What are the metaphors you've already chosen for that? Life is like. Then make a list of all the metaphors you associate with relationships. That could be friendships. That could be significant other relationships. That could be family relationships. And then as you're listing these out, start noticing, are they empowering? Are they disempowering? Is it a mixture of both? Then start taking inventory of the metaphors of other areas of your life, pertaining maybe to business, or your ability to learn, or your association with public speaking, as we had talked about previously. And then again, go over all of what you've written down, what you've taken inventory on. And if there's anything disempowering, write down how you can reinterpret it to be empowering now. How you can change it to be empowering, and then start erasing that metaphor that is disempowering. And make sure to extend some grace to yourself, and just know and understand that as you operate in life moving forward after this exercise, of course, that old disempowering metaphor is going to come up again, but now you're aware of it. That's the thing. So see it and be aware of it, and then immediately disrupt it and replace it with the empowering metaphor that you've already written down and as a replacement for that. And as you continue to do that, as you continue to interrupt the pattern and replace the disempowering metaphors with empowering metaphors, suddenly the disempowering metaphors are going to slowly go away. And more, you'll lean toward the empowering ones that you've replaced it with. Let's get into chapter 11. Here's the quote that stood out to me the most. Getting curious helps you master your emotions, solve the challenge, and prevent the same problem from occurring in the future. It's important to realize that you can feel any way you want to at any given moment in life. You and you alone are the source of all your emotions. It's not the outside world. It's not the others around you that are creating these emotions. It's you intentionally choosing those emotions. It's not the outside world. It's not others and what they say and what they do around you that are creating whatever emotions within you. It's your body's natural inclination and action to create a certain emotion. Maybe it's anger or frustration. And all of those are valid and shouldn't be looked at as anything negative. But starting to pay attention to those things and being aware of, okay, this is how I'm feeling. Why am I feeling this way? Do I want to dwell in this feeling any longer than I'm currently in right now? If not, then okay, well, let's start putting myself in a new state. You don't need any special reason to feel good. You can just feel good right now. Doesn't need to be a special occasion. It could be simply because you're grateful to be alive. So how do we begin to master our emotions? Step one, identify what you're really feeling. Again, our body naturally has created patterns of emotions to which it responds to certain circumstances in life. And that's just happened unconsciously. And so it's important to start being consciously aware of what's happening. And this is the first step, is now you're starting to pay attention to what's happening within you. What is this emotion? What do I label it as? What do I call it? And why do I feel this right now? See your emotions as a teacher to start learning about yourself. And then now starting to learn and grow and develop and become better through the mastery of your emotions by now being aware, self-aware of your emotions. And so that takes us into step two, which is acknowledging and appreciating your emotions and seeing them as a support system for you. What I mean by a support system is it's there to, again, teach you to be a teacher, to start making positive changes in your life. And by cultivating the feeling of appreciation and gratitude toward any emotion that pops up, that creates the freedom, the ability to start making the changes you need to make. Step three, get curious about what this emotion is trying to tell you. For example, start asking yourself some questions. What do I really want to feel right now? What can I learn from this and how I feel and what I just went through? What am I willing to do to create a solution to what just occurred here? So get curious about your emotions. And by starting to ask these emotions questions, these emotions that pop up throughout the day, see it as a way to where you're starting to seek to understand that particular emotion. And as you get more and more curious about all the emotions that pop up throughout the day, you start to understand each emotion that you feel that much better than you did before. Step four, get confident. Get confident that you can handle the emotion immediately. You can come up with a solution right away. For example, you can think back like, oh, I have solved this. I have gotten to know this emotion many times before, and I successfully handled it before, so I can do it again. That is what confidence is. That's where confidence is bred, is through stacking wins that you can then refer back to and be like, oh, I've actually accomplished that before. I can do that again. Then step five, get certain that you can handle and resolve the situation today and in the future. So recall how you handled it in the past successfully. You can do it again. And start rehearsing in your mind during random times throughout the day when you just have some downtime to yourself, rehearsing in your mind, coming up with solutions to overcoming that particular challenge, that particular obstacle, that particular emotion to where you weren't feeling good, but you wanted to pull yourself out of it, and you did successfully in the past. And because the mind doesn't know any different in terms of envisioning and imagining something to actually doing something. So use that to your advantage. Then step six, get excited and take action. Very often the thing that propels me to take action, that fuels that action, is enthusiasm. Is creating enthusiasm which then fuels the action that I want to take. And now let's get into chapter 12. Here's a quote that stood out to me the most. Achieving goals by themselves will never make us happy in the long term. It's who you become as you overcome the obstacles necessary to achieve your goals that can give you the deepest and most long-lasting sense of fulfillment. Many people in life know what they should do, but they don't do. And the reason is because they're lacking the drive that only a compelling future can provide. It's important to cultivate, to create that enthusiasm, that energy to propel you forward. When it comes to setting goals, all goals must be backed by a game plan, a plan of action. What are you going to do? How are you going to get it done? And back it up with massive, consistent action. Yet, as we know, when we set a plan for something, it's never perfect, right? We set a plan to drive from here to there. We can plan for it, but we can never really expect other circumstances that may possibly occur. So there's going to be many different ways to go from A to B, and just know and be aware of that, which this directly ties into is who you become through the process of getting from A to B. Because there's other things that are going to pop up and get in your way. You're going to have to start solution seeking and problem solving to figure out, how do I keep moving forward to get to that destination where I want to go to? And when you're already consistently taking massive action toward it, it makes it that much easier to keep going. Well, I've already made it this far. I've already started. The hardest part is just starting. But once you've started, no matter where you at in the process, it makes it that much easier to then be in a moment where an obstacle is there, like, oh no, how do I get over this? You figure it out right then and there. Rather than going back and retreading back to destination A. You're already out on the path. You're going to figure it out. Again, paying attention to the language, the vocabulary that's coming out of your mouth, that's being dwelled on in your mind. Is it empowering, disempowering? And as you're overcoming those obstacles, reflect back as you continue to move forward toward your destination. Reflect and think like, wow, look at what I just accomplished. Look what I just did there in the moment. I didn't think I could do that, but I did it. I ended up figuring it out. And as you stack those wins of figuring things out, suddenly you become somebody who figures everything out. Everything's figure-outable, right? And as long as we know that the hardest part is actually starting, and what fuels that starting is backing it up with enthusiasm, energy, putting yourself in an enthusiastic state of, yes, this is a high priority of mine. I really want to go from A to B. I really want to get to B. B is amazing. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to B. I'm excited to get to B, that end destination. So then that excitement is bubbling up in you, and then you start taking action. So I hope this has been helpful to you. It's been a lot of fun. I'll see you in the next video.